Right, what we got? We're going to do an aloo. Is it going? Yeah, it's going. We're going to do an aloo kemma, which is a potato and mince curry. I've got a tin of plum tomatoes crushed by hand, one white onion finely sliced, 500 gram of beef mince. I've got some coriander and I've got some garlic and ginger paste. I've got one potato which I've peeled and cut into cubes. I like them quite big. And then I've got a mix of spices. I've got half a teaspoon of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of chili powder, and a teaspoon of salt. I've got some Greek style yogurt. I'm going to put a tablespoon of that in. I've got some dried fenugreek leaves. I've got some frozen peas. I've got a green chilli. I've got a slice of ginger, and to add to the oil, which I've just got, and I'll put on a heat. Add to the oil. I've got a bay leaf, a cinnamon stick, 3 cardamom pods, and about 4 or 5 ground, 4 or 5 whole peppercorns. So I've got the heat under the oil. I've got a decent amount of oil in here. I don't like to mess about with that, and I'll just let that warm up for a minute or two. We'll drop an onion in and see if it's... No, it's getting there. So just in with the spices. That's the bay leaf, the cinnamon stick, 3 cardamom pods, and some peppercorns. And I'll just crush. I should have crushed them before they went in, but I'll do them now. There you go, nicely crushed. Yep, and then I'll fry those off for a minute or two. Once it gets up to full heat, it's looking all right actually. Yeah, you can hear them starting to sizzle a bit. So that'll do. Just give those a minute or so. Let's give that a wash. Yeah, so they're on the go. And then I'll get the onions in. And get the onions cooking on a reasonably high heat. What I'm going to do is I want the onions to brown, so remember that you've already got some salt in here, so you don't want too much. You've got some salt in the spice mix. I'll just get a bit of salt in there just to get the onions frying, and we'll give those a few minutes until they start to brown. So you can see the onions are starting to fry down, just starting to take a bit of colour. I don't really need them really dark brown. There's plenty of colour to the dish and depth in the dish. I've already added, as you might be able to see in there, I've added some chopped green chilli, or sliced green chilli. So I'm going to cook that down a little bit. Just take that down a little bit further. I've taken the bay leaf. I've just taken the bay leaf out of the mix as well. And at this stage, I'm going to add the spices to the mix. So that's the spice, and I'm going to cook that with the onions, with the chilli, and with the base spices of the bay leaf, cinnamon, cardamom pods, and black peppercorns. See, that's all coming to a nice colour. You see, I've got plenty of oil in it. You don't want to skimp on the oil on this. I know we all don't want to take on excess fat with these curries, but you need some oil in here, definitely. So yeah, we'll give that a minute or two. Just give that a good cook through. Make sure all the spices are nicely cooked, and then at that stage I add the plum tomatoes that I've crushed by hand. I'm still on a high heat here. Turn it down a little bit. Smells absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm going to cook this sauce right down. As you can see, I really have crushed those tomatoes, and what we're getting here now is a nice base sauce. So we're going to have the hard spices, the powdered spices, we're going to have the onion, we're going to have the tomatoes, and we're going to cook that into a nice thick sauce. Next thing we're going to add in a couple of minutes will be some Greek style yogurt, so I'll be back in a minute. So I'm going to turn the heat down now. See, the sauce is starting to thicken up, just how we want it. And I'm going to just add a tablespoon of plain yogurt, maybe just a tad more. Get rid of that. And get that mixed in. So we really are making quite a deep, rich sauce. So I'm going to turn the heat up again, get that cooking through. As soon as this gets up to temperature, and it looks like it is, I'm going to put the beef mince straight in. Get rid of that. And let's get it cooked in. It's good quality. It's a 5% fat mince. So it's a good quality mince as well. So I'm just going to cook that into the sauce and cook all the mince down for the next few minutes. So it's cooking down nicely. I've put some garlic and ginger paste in there now. Let's mix it all in well. I'm not frying the garlic and ginger paste off. I just want it, I want some of that flavour to mix into the meat and the sauce. So I add it once everything's cooking. You can see the minces start to cook nicely now. But you need to make sure that it's all cooked through. So I'm just going to knock that down from a high heat onto about a third heat, and I'm going to leave that for a few minutes until it's all cooked through. So at this stage the mince is all cooked down. It's looking like a nice thick sauce. I think I said I put some garlic and ginger paste, 2 teaspoons in there. I'm going to put the dry fenugreek, rub it in your hands, releases more of the flavour, get that into your dish. Don't be skinny with that, it's meti, they call it if you're looking for it in the supermarkets. I think I'm going to take the cinnamon stick out. Now I'm going to have my potatoes, I'm going to cook all them in, and I'm going to add my frozen peas. And I'm going to cook all that down. I'm going to turn it onto a medium heat. Start to take shape now, start to get a bit of colour. So I've only got 2 things left, or 3 things left. I'm just going to put a bit of water in it once this is up to speed. So let's get a bit of water in there. Probably doesn't need any more than that. It's supposed to be a nice, thick, rich sauce, this one. So we don't want too much water in it, but we do want the potatoes to cook. So I'm just going to put a smidgen more water. And I'm going to put the lid on that baby. I'm going to knock it back. I'm going to knock it back to a low heat. I am going to try and just see the spice mix is all right. My God. Wow, that's nice. Bloody Nora, that is nice. So, yeah, low heat. Stick the lid on. Et voila. And then I'm going to leave that cooking for about 15 to 20 minutes until those potatoes are cooked. That stage, I've cut some fine slices, julienne, of ginger, and I've got a bunch of coriander that I'm going to put in there, and I'll put loads of coriander in, and then I'm going to give it another probably another 10 or 15 minutes at that stage. Just going to check once I've cooked this for 15-20 minutes, I'll just check that the potatoes are nicely cooked, and I'll just make sure there's enough water in the pan. So that's it for now. I'll be back in a few minutes. So cooking time's nearly up. Everything's looking gorgeous. I would say that's the right consistency. Let's have a look at these spuds. Almost there. So I'm going to put some chopped ginger, juliennes of ginger into the pot. And then going to put a load of coriander, which I've stalks and all. I'll just pulled apart by hand. I'm going to put those in. I'm just going to give that another few minutes. Let those, yeah, they're almost there. Probably need 5 more minutes. Just going to add a teeny tiny dab of water, and I mean a teeny tiny.